Hey guys, before I get into my DVD review, just wanted to talk about this past Monday's Raw with the Legends. Again, the show wasn't really that good, but looks like we're going to have Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE World Title at the Royal Rumble. Like most fans, I'm not really happy with that direction. I was never really a big Goldberg fan back in the day. A lot of people like complain that the beginning of the end of WCW was when they ended his winning streak. I have a different opinion of that. I feel like they made Goldberg unstoppable, and it came to a point. If you want him to be the top babyface, it came to the point when fans were starting to boo him, and they just wanted him to lose. That's my opinion. It was at a point because if you look at wrestling and you look like a babyface, the way it works is that you stack the odds against the babyface, and the babyface has to overcome all these obstacles. Look what back in the Attitude Era, what McMahon did to like Steve Austin, all the stuff that Stone Cold had to overcome in order to like be triumphant at the end. Goldberg was just unstoppable. Like there was no threats for him. Well, he annihilated everybody. So wouldn't that be kind of like almost like making him more like a heel? And you talk about Kevin Nash, like everybody complains about Kevin Nash ending the streak and so, and like I can understand that. I mean, you wanted somebody like like maybe a new like a younger talent to be able to do that, and that would help elevate them. But you have to remember with Kevin Nash, like this is like '98, and Kevin Nash was a big star. Like it was '95 he was the WWE champion, '96. I mean. And then he goes to WCW and NWO. He was a big star in the mid to late '90s. People forget about that, and you go back to Starrcade '98 and you watch the crowd, and I think the crowd was more rooting for Kevin Nash to end the streak. But we're gonna get Goldberg versus McIntyre. I thought it was gonna be Goldberg versus. It made more sense for me if they did Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, because that was supposedly the direction for WrestleMania this past last year. So that's what I thought they were gonna do, but that really came out of nowhere. And then Goldberg comes out and then saying that like Drew McIntyre was insulting like the legends and thinks he's better, and that didn't take place at all that night. Like, why didn't Goldberg go after like Randy Orton? That was just like poor like writing and just to try to set up this match. Just a bad way to go about it. And then I read like they had to go with Goldberg because they didn't have anybody ready for McIntyre at the Royal Rumble, and I'm like shocked. Like you just knew that you had the Rumble in a couple of weeks. You just discovered that, and now you're like, oh, we don't have anybody ready. I'm just surprised. This is just really bad booking. I just don't understand. You have Keith Lee. If you knew you for the past couple of weeks, they should have made Keith Lee like destroy everybody and you get this big winning streak, and then you would have the match at him against McIntyre this past Monday, and have it end in like a draw or something or a double count out, and just so they could get a rematch at the Rumble. Keith Lee is probably not going to win the title, not yet, but just a challenger, And I'm just waiting for like, what about Sheamus? Have him turn on Drew McIntyre. We all know that's going to happen. We know Sheamus is going to turn on Drew McIntyre. Do it now before we wait down the road. No one's going to really care. I don't know if anybody cares right now about it, but just do that. I mean, get it over with. I just don't understand, and I have a funny feeling. I hope this doesn't happen. Goldberg winning the title. I mean, I don't. I mean, and having him like go into Mania with the championship. I hope that doesn't happen, but who knows? But the DVD I want to go through right now it's an old one. It's Mr. Perfect, the life and times of Mr. Perfect. Back in the day when wrestling was really good. This came out in like 2008. Here's the back cover right here. When I got into wrestling in 1991, so it was right after WrestleMania 7. And this is when Mr. Perfect was their Intercontinental Champion. Back when the title kind of meant something, you would give it to like the best worker, and a typical like heel champion. You put him against like like these the baby faces, and then you think, oh yeah, he's gonna lose, and then all of a sudden he kind of like either cheats or like wriggles out and gets a win. So that's kind of how he was. So I got this. I guess I think you can find this DVD on the WWE Network. If not, most of these matches are probably on the WWE Network. So we're gonna open it up real quick. So this has 2 discs right there. We got a picture of. We got some advertisement here of Ric Flair. This is how old this DVD is. This is advertisements for WWE 24/7 on demand, the precursor for the WWE Network. Here we got over here him against the Perfect Plex on Bam Bam Bigelow. Assuming I don't know when that's from actually. And then you got Perfect from right there. So let's again you're gonna get the documentary in the beginning about his career. I'm not too familiar with Kurt Hennig in AWA because that's where he started. I basically only remember him from when he joined WWE from 1989 with the Mr. Perfect gimmick. He was from there from 89 to 91, and then he had the back injury. So he took a year off, but he was like a commentator, managing Ric Flair. Made the comeback in '92, wrestled in '93, and then he was gone for a while. And he finished up in WCW. So you get the documentary. It's a short documentary, if I recall. It's not but the main thing is definitely the matches and the videos, the old videos they would do with Mr. Perfect. Where they would have him at like a golf course or something. I know that I remember one watching back in the day on WWE Superstars when he would throw the football and he would run and he would catch it. It was pretty cool. So you get all of those like videos of him playing darts, bowling, chess. These are all the ones that build up the Mr. Perfect like gimmick. So regards to the matches, you get early really early Kurt Hennig. This is Madison Square Garden from 1982. Kurt Hennig versus Eddie Gilbert. Then we have AWA, his time with AWA. Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall versus Steve Regal and Jimmy Garvin. I heard this was a really good match, and Eric Bischoff actually talked about this on his 83 Weeks podcast. I think one of the questions was Conrad asked him like, what was his favorite like memory as a kid watching wrestling, or not as a kid. I'm sorry, his favorite, I guess, like memory watching wrestling. He mentioned Kurt Hennig versus Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA Championship. That was back in '86. Then we have Kurt Hennig versus Terry Taylor. And then he goes to WWE in '89. He has the Mr. Perfect gimmick. So we get an early Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart from 1989 at MSG. That's interesting because I think I think of 3 Kurt Hennig versus Bret Hart matches. The first one definitely at '91 SummerSlam when Bret Hart wins the IC title. At '93 King of the Ring. And then in WCW, I think it was an uncensored '98. They had a match. Mr. Perfect versus Hulk Hogan from January of 1990. I kind of remember, they put Hogan against Mr. Perfect. I don't remember there was a gimmick where where Mr. Perfect smashed or destroyed the Hulk Hogan's championship belt. Mr. Perfect versus the Texas Tornado. This is from November 24th, 1990. I'm not sure if this is the one where he won back the title. Because Mr. Perfect, after WrestleMania 6, Ultimate Warrior won the WWE title, and he was at the time the Intercontinental Champion. So they made it like a thing where he couldn't hold 2 belts, so he had to. So of course he was going to forfeit the IC title, and they had a tournament, and I think the finals were Mr. Perfect and Tino Santana, and Mr. Perfect won. And he would eventually drop the title at SummerSlam that year to the Texas Tornado, which was Kerry Von Erich. And Kerry Von Erich had a short run, I think 3 months, and like November, Perfect won the title back. So I don't know if that was the match that he won the title. I don't think so, actually. Might not be it. Because I just remember Ted DiBiase interfering in that match and costing uh, uh, Texas Tornado the match, and I don't think it took place in Madison Square Garden. It didn't look like that. This might be just a house show that they filmed. We had the SummerSlam '91 match, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. I love that. I was a huge Bret Hart fan, so I was so happy when you won the IC title. SummerSlam '93, Perfect versus Shawn Michaels. Then you have the uncensored match from WCW, Kurt Hennig versus Bret the Hitman Hart. So again, not that many matches here. I mean, I would have loved to see, I would have loved to see his match with, teaming up with Macho Man Randy Savage against Ric Flair and Razor Ramon at SummerSlam, Survivor Series '92. That would be kind of cool to put on there. Or his the retirement match, or loser leaves town match, I should say, loser leaves town match with him against Ric Flair. It was January of '93. So that was so they left out a lot of matches. I think I would have preferred them to add to this collection, but again, that's what the WWE Network is for. You can always go back to it. But definitely, I mean, definitely, sometimes it's kind of cool to check out some of his matches. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But his memory of his career is always going to live on um, through these DVDs and through whatever's on the WWE Network. But I always enjoyed Mr. Perfect. I always enjoyed his run. I always loved his comeback in '92 and his babyface run. Enjoyed that. It was short, but I mean it was a good career. And Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect will always be on my top 10 list of best wrestlers.